Some people call him talented, I just call him greedy. Please welcome Tony Martin.
Thanks, Sam. And, Sam, over the last week, a lot of people have been accusing me of knowing nothing about history and only coming on this show to crack a lot of stupid jokes. So can I just ask, will there be any questions tonight about the French author Balzac?
This expression relates to considerable personal cost and was probably first used in a military sense.
Gee, I'm an expert on all things military. How about you?
No. I know the captain in Tennille, really. They're the only military figures whose biography I'm familiar with.
Question 2. Country of origin. Where is the... Tony?
Tibet.
Well done, 10 points. Any ideas about the era?
The olden days?
I'm suggesting that that's the meadow in Runnymede where King John put his seal upon the Magna Carta.
And, bit of a coincidence, what did he die of, King John?
He died of dysentery.
Also known as Runnymede. So there you go.
The breakthrough cure for syphilis was giving the patient malaria.
Wow.
Yes. Nobel Prize winner Julius Wagner Jurek infected patients with malaria, causing high fever that killed syphilis bacteria, then treated them with quinine for the malaria and gave them the all clear.
No, I think he had to treat them with gonorrhea to get rid of the malaria. It was an endless cycle.
This is where Mussolini was hung and they buried him in an unmarked grave. Problem was, about a year later, some of his supporters found him, dug him up, held on to him for a couple of months.
Oh, feral.
Weekend at Benito's, it was called. I saw that.
This phrase refers to a type of fruit that was considered of little or no value at the time, and the fruit in question is a fig, and the phrase is, don't give a fig. All this time, did we think that fig was just a substitute for another word?
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did, didn't we?
And the phrase mother figure? Does that come from?
Yeah, that's on another show, Tone.
So there was really colour TV in 1954?
Yep.
We didn't get colour TV in New Zealand until about halfway through an episode of HR Pufnstuf. It was like a nightmare when it suddenly came on in colour.
Lying back and thinking about mother. Where are we?
The Bates Motel.
I think it's Sigmund Freud's place.
Wasn't he the first person to suggest that everyone had different dreams? Because up until then, it was assumed that there was like one TV channel, everyone was having the same dreams. And then Freud went, no, it's more like Foxtel. Some people have got the UK Comedy Channel going. Some people have got the Discovery Network.
There were different packages within everyone's
Different
dreams.
package,
Right?
exactly.
I gotcha. That
Richer
makes
people
sense.
could afford a wider range of dreams.
The tonic was served in the court of a famous Mongolian ruler. Can you name him for 10 points?
Genghis Khan.
The other one.
Kublai Khan.
Yes, well done. 10 points.
Is it Shaka Khan? Sorry, let's just do all of them.
She cut off their arms and legs for some of them, and she made herself slowly and steadily the emperor of China. She also introduced Buddhism as the official religion.
Arms and legs being chopped off Buddhism, I've not really read up on this, but I don't think that's one of the tenets, is it?
No, it's
Reducing somebody to a torso.
The punishment for the crime of patricide was the offender was publicly whipped, then sewn into a sack with a snake, a dog, a chicken and a monkey before being thrown into the river.
What's the monkey doing in there, really? I mean, well, obviously the snake and the chicken and go. Wasn't the monkeys just there to make it funnier?
Anyone want to take a stab at what this symbol means?
That appeared shortly after the invention of the motor car.
It is certain that the final words of bushranger Ned Kelly were, such is life.
Fact.
Fiction.
Oh,
Yes,
bugger again.
because his real last words were, please don't let Mick Jagger play me.
If you could go back to a particular time in history, where would it be?
Italy, in the Renaissance. I would probably be a translator. I'd be free to change the text whichever way I like. That's the great thing about the Renaissance.
On the downside, you're having to take a crap in the street. I think that's basically the problem with wanting to be an olden days historical figure.
Enormous consolation when I see both the new and the old series of Battlestar Galactica, the catchphrase of which all this has happened before and it will happen again. And that's what's happening in the financial markets.
And on that cheery note...
I don't know anything about the global financial crisis, but I do remember the original series of Battlestar Galactica. And most weeks it was just people going, oh no, we're being shot at by the same piece of footage as last week.
It's from Britain and it's around 6,000 years old, this recipe.
Maybe they weren't that healthy. They didn't have modern dentistry, which is why everything is ground up and rolled into a ball and boiled for hours.
A tradition that remains to this day.
The development of nursing and hospital care was instigated by an almost famous lady with the lamp.
Something about Florence Nightingale.
It does have something to do with her.
Something about a lamp, possibly. That's why the lady has a lamp. I think there was that song, wasn't there?
In 1940, Japan dropped bubonic plague-infested fleas on China, causing epidemic plague outbreaks.
I don't want to cast aspersions on the Japanese, so I would say false.
It is fact.
Oh.
See, I did want to cast aspersions on the Japanese, so if you'd let me answer that, we would have done fine.
What do you see there, Tone?
I see a very, very poor package holiday. That's what I see up there.
Liquid fire was hurled onto the ships of enemies, as you can see there, and the flammable material was reputed to be inextinguishable. Now,
And obviously the other people have only got a large stained glass window, so they're feeling like idiots. He's burning to death. Why did we bring an enormous stained glass window with it?
Sign the paper. Sign it. Good boy.
And that is kind of what it's like when they give you your release form for this program. I've noticed too.
Parisian taxi drivers saved their city from the rapidly advancing German army. 600 Parisian cabbies responded to the call for help transporting soldiers to the front.
But they went in such a long direction. Sorry.
Back then, if a ship failed to obtain a clean bill of health, what do we think happened to it? Anything?
It would have been turned away from port.
I know, it was retitled The Fun Ship.
French settlers observed this indigenous Iroquois ceremony.
Were they Labradors? Because I know that's where the Labrador people
Yes, you're
are
not
from.
making this up. This
No,
is true.
the Labrador, the people who never stop eating, I don't think. Sorry, just for Labrador owners out there.
It's considered highly likely that James Cook never lived in the Melbourne tourist attraction Captain Cook Cottage.
I'm going to say that's a fact, i.e. that he didn't actually live in it.
That is a fact.
Yeah. He lived in Cryal Castle. In fact, is where he lived.
Bacchus Marsh.
Lederhosen.
So it costs more than a pair of leather pants.
Oh, is that what lederhosen is?
I think that's what it used to be. I'm going entirely on the National Lampoon Vacation films, obviously.
Okay.
This is Tokyo Bay, Japan, on the USS Missouri, where the Japanese instrument of surrender was signed.
Sam, from this angle, it actually looks like a Dalek.
Once the Japanese got a look at the Daleks, it was game over. But what was it? Because the war ended because they'd run out of planes, they'd run out of fuel to run their ships. I think all they had really was Mothra, which was a giant atomic mutant moth. And that was useless.
Is that the one that breathed flame out of its mouth?
That's right. That's all the Japanese army had was Mothra. And if somebody switched the light on, he was easily distracted. That was useless.
This is the Australian $1 note. Question one.
And, Sam, I think young people watching wouldn't realise how big our currency actually was back in the 1970s.
Yeah.
It's probably the only currency in the world that's got genitals on it. Those gentlemen off to the top right?
Oh, yes, that's a reference to the ancient Australian art of puppetry of the penis, first seen 30,000 years ago.
Friendy, what is that binding stuff?
I believe it's part of the soybean.
Comes out of them.
It's like a meso.
But he looks like the bloke who should be on the box of this in Japanese.
Now, I can't...
Me so horny.
The Braille alphabet was based on an alphabet invented for military use.
Like the internet originally for military use, and now both, of course, used mainly for pornography. Haven't seen any of that Braille porn. It's very fantastic gear.
Did we get the country that we think it's from?
Japan?
Japan's correct. What about a date, Glenda, while you're on a roll?
Yeah, save that for after the show, Sam. Please, she's busy. She's busy.
Thank you. I'll just set them up and you knock them down, Tone. In the Old Testament, when the Ark of the Covenant was stolen in 1200 BC by the Philistines of Asdod, God's punishment was smiting the men of the city with haemorrhoids.
Oh! Really? I mean, I have to say, that would have been a very poor ending to Raiders of the Lost Ark. If they just jemmied the top off and then, oh, bloody hell, me arse. Steady on. We Nazis aren't going to be sitting down for a while.
And British trade with China started in the 1700s, but by the early 1800s, something had happened in terms of a trade imbalance involving tea.
Yeah. I thought there would be more questions about 80s movies. I just want to say that.